It's time for episode number 53 of the Press Box Podcast, and this episode is going to be all about football. We'll start with talking about one of the big fantasy football revelations we had while watching the games of Week 1, before discussing some of the action that took place, not only in the NFL but in college. And finally, we're going to finish up with the Big Ten and their decision to actually now play college football in what will be an 8-game season. So we'll get into that in the episode, and without further ado, let's start right now.
Okay, welcome back to the Press Box Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ralph Miranda. I'll be joined shortly by my co-host, Joseph Miranda, and our producer, Nathan Miranda. And today, on this episode, we want to talk mostly football. We want to start, since we've had Week 1 of the NFL season, and we gave you our fantasy football show a couple episodes ago. Last episode, we gave you our NFL preview for the year. So today, we want to talk a little bit about that first week of the NFL. And I want to start by giving our producer, Nathan, kudos and credit for his take on the running backs. And Nathan, before I give you the credit I want to give you, tell us what you told us during our fantasy football episode about running backs.
Basically, everybody always says that running backs are the highest valued position, and everybody wants to get their running backs with their first and second pick, or they want to get good running backs early. And I agree that running backs are the most valuable position if you can get one of the top 2 or 3 running backs. If you can get in this year's draft, it would have been if you can get McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott, or Barkley. Yeah, if you can get those, that's what you should take with your first pick. But outside of that, there's no reason to draft. Outside of that, running backs number 4 and 5, all the way down to 55, are roughly the same in my mind. So if you can't get those top 3, one of those top 3 guys, and you have even if you have the 5th or 6th pick, I say take a receiver first. I think they're way more valuable because you can get running backs later. You can get running backs later in the draft, like what we got, Sony
Michel, Frank Gore,
Adrian Peterson,
and they're gonna get just as much, if not more, carries, and going to produce just about the same and have the same probability of scoring points for you than Nick Chubb would for you,
right.
Or Le'Veon Bell, or one of those type of guys.
Well, and I came to the realization that you're totally right in Week 1 in the NFL, because I was in the same camp. I was like, I need a good running back. And then I ended up taking Chubb with my first-round pick, and I had the last pick, so it put me behind the 8 ball. But and let me preface this by saying we're talking a PPR league here, which is what we're in.
Right.
Because, like Nathan said, you say you take Chubb, who had, I'm getting his stats wrong, but it was something like, 12 carries for 62 yards. That's it. That's 6 points.
Right.
Okay. Now you take an average receiver that you can get pretty much anywhere in the draft, and he's got 6 catches for 72 yards. Well, that's 70 points for the yards, but 6 for the catch. That's 13 points.
Right.
All right. So that's almost double the points there.
Right.
And and I just mentioned an average receiver. Forget your first 2 picks. You can get 2 really good receivers.
Right.
If you stay away from running backs, and then you've got the guy from the Rams who was on the waiver wire, he scored 2 touchdowns. You can always find running backs. I'm convinced now. I was in the wrong camp, and now I agree with you.
You said earlier that you don't like to be stuck as you have been in the past, late in the year, where you feel like you don't have any good running backs on your roster. And I said, well, I hate to feel like I don't have any good receivers because quarterbacks always are going to have the guys they like to go to. They have their favorite guys. But the Romo was always Witten. He was a tight end, I know. But Brady always liked Gronk. I'm trying to think of a receiver. Mahomes seems to like Tyreek Hill, I think.
Right.
My point is they kind of have their go-to guys.
Right.
So if you have one of the middle-of-the-road type of receivers, you can have games where they get no targets.
Right.
Or 1 target.
Right. You have to get a good receiver.
You have to get a good receiver.
Right.
But if you get one of these random running backs, these teams now they juggle so many running backs.
You're right.
They're all going to get 8 carries or whatever. Like unless you have one of those top 3 guys, they're not going to get like 20 carries a game anyways.
Right.
So get your receivers out of the way, get your quarterback out of the way first if you can't get one of those top 3 running backs, and then get the Sony Michels or Frank Gore or Mostert, the guy for San Francisco, those guys.
Right. No, I wanted to get that conversation started because I wanted to give Nathan credit for
Yeah.
that. Joseph came to that realization. We all did watching the game Sunday. We're sitting there watching the first week of the NFL season, and we're saying, "Who's this guy? Who's that guy?" I mean, there was 3 or 4 running backs. It seemed like on every team that was getting carries.
Well, like Josh was saying, he had Chubb, but
Right.
Kareem
Hunt.
Kareem Hunt got more carries. Where
Right.
he was in that list. He's probably on there, but he wasn't like in the top whatever 10 like Chubb was.
No, and I even had a member of our fantasy league agree with that take, and I won't say who that was, but it's a good take.
And for your all's team, not Sterling Shepard. Who's the guy you had? Darius Slayton. He was your top performer this week points wise. I don't know what round you got him in.
We got him late round, didn't we?
Kind of late, but there were some in our league who thought we got him too early.
Yeah.
It was like round 5 maybe.
Yeah.
I'll have to give you all that credit there.
Yeah, that's
Ralph.
that
Was your pick. You told me about that. You told me to try to get him if we could, and I was
Right.
like, all right, I don't really know much about him.
There's your top performer right there. Not a running back and not a top flight receiver
Right.
according to rankings.
But I followed the reasoning that Nathan just mentioned. I knew that he was Daniel Jones. Him and Daniel Jones had a chemistry, and that's the guy he looked for. So it doesn't matter about his name. It matters, does the quarterback have that chemistry with
The
him?
quarterback would turn around and hand to any running back that the offensive coordinator sends in on that drive. It doesn't matter. But when he's sitting back to film the pressure, he's going to go to his go-to targets.
Right, the guy that he has faith in. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And then I think we all get kudos today. Joseph, many members of the draft thought Joseph took Adrian Peterson too soon.
Yes.
Adrian Peterson.
And then for a while it looked like Adrian Peterson might not have a team. The Lions sign him, and in week 1 the guy goes for 96 yards rushing and like 20 or 30 yards receiving.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would like to ask all these people in the draft how would they like to have Adrian Peterson right now. They're probably more than half will take him.
That's
Right,
exactly
you got
right.
Adrian Peterson sitting a week before the NFL season, sitting there as a free agent. Anybody can have him, okay? But then, and you look in that fantasy list, he's ranked even when he was still with the Redskins.
He was like 50th. wasn't he?
50th. All right, so you look at that list, okay, and then you look at what happened Sunday.
Right.
He competed with the likes of McCaffrey. He had a better day than Barkley.
Right.
He had a better day than Ezekiel Elliott. He's 35 years old.
And he did it on less carries.
And
He got like
less
14
carries.
Yeah.
Matt Patricia, if you're listening, you're not. Offensive coordinator, if you're not. Give the guy 30 carries.
Right.
You gave him 14 carries, roughly. He gets better with carries. The ball's not heavy, as the old saying goes. Give it to him.
Yeah.
30 carries this week.
What do they have to lose, the Lions? Were they going to have a mediocre season? That's what they have every
They
year.
should have won that game. They should have been throwing that route to Peterson. He wouldn't have dropped it.
Well, not only that, the Lions, when they had the lead there late in the game, they should have been handing it to Peterson, not throwing it.
There's always, of course, this is not across the board. There's always outliers to there's always exceptions to the rule. Like I know, what's his name for Oakland that you like?
Josh Jacobs.
Josh
Jacobs,
He's
yeah.
one of those running backs that is not in that top 3, and he had a huge day. He had like 3 touchdowns. But
But they also gave it to other running backs. And he just had a big day.
right, so my point is, in general, over the course of the season, you're better off doing that.
I agree with that. So
Receivers and quarterbacks, top 2. Then you go running backs are 3rd as far as.
So that was our
fantasy
revelation week 1.
That was our update, and I think this just goes to show all you listeners that you need to be listening to the Press Box podcast because we gave you a fantasy. I mean, and here's another thing: we all talked about who were our guys ranked outside of the top 25 at their position, right? We all came up with guys that had pretty good days Sunday.
Well, you talked about Mr. Trubisky, who led the team in a game-winning
drive,
game-winning drive. Nathan, I think, mentioned Jimmy Graham, who scored a touchdown. Wasn't ranked in the top number of tight ends. I mentioned Greg Olsen, scored a touchdown. I knew Russell wasn't going to look for him.
You even mentioned Adrian Peterson.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes.
Frank Gore.
Frank Gore.
Well, that's just kind of like Bell got hurt.
But he still got a lot of carries.
He still had more yards than Bell did.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so my point is, you need to listen to the Press Box podcast because we give out knowledge that can be useful.
I would love to speak with somebody who made that list and say, how do they put Frank Gore at like 75 or whatever he was on the list? How, you know he's going to get carries, and I don't understand.
Because I don't know. Maybe they're following. Maybe they believe what you said. Maybe they think that he was buried on the depth chart. And he might just get a few carries. I don't know.
And then also, let me say, what did I say about quarterbacks? You can always find some guy that's going to put you up numbers. Gardner Minshew,
right?
19 for 20, 3 touchdowns, 170-something yards. That's a good fantasy day.
I kind of agree with that, but I feel like with quarterbacks, you still need somebody who knows going to be productive every week. Like Gardner Minshew next week could throw 3 picks.
That's true. I mean, it's nice to have a good one, but as we said, your first three picks should be receivers or tight ends.
Yeah,
basically.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I guess the big question is, what do you think Jameis Winston was thinking on the sidelines of the Saints when he saw Tom Brady throw a pick six?
I heard somebody say, I kind of feel bad for the guy, but apparently they showed a shot of the stands in that game, and some of the players who weren't dressed out were in there like with clipboards doing something. Josh Rosen was in the stands,
really?
and he was kind of sitting there with this blank stare on his face, and people were commenting on how he had apparently said there were like 12 mistakes made before him in the draft that year, or 9 mistakes. And
I feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him.
He
too.
hasn't had a fair shake, really.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And then to see him sitting in the stands with his hat on, it kind of a blank stare. I felt bad for him.
I would like to see him get with one offensive coordinator for 2 or 3 years. I mean, the guy was at Arizona, and then they got a new coaching staff, and they traded him. He was with the Dolphins, and they gave him 1 or 2 starts, and then they got new. So he didn't really get a fair shake, but that's beside the point. So anyway, the NFL's off to a good start. There were some surprises in the first week of the NFL. I thought the Redskins beating the Eagles was Redskins. All right, the Washington football team, beating the Eagles was a surprise to me. I thought the Raiders going into Carolina and winning was a little bit of a surprise to me. I mean, I not a big one, but
I guess a little less for me. I mentioned in our preview episode I thought they'd make the playoffs.
You did.
And I'm, Carolina. I'm not really sold on Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know why they're just handing him the starting job. Basically,
I don't think they're sold on him. I think it's the best thing they have.
I guess I don't know, but go out and get Phillip Rivers. He was available. Go out and get, trade for Nick Foles or
Josh Rose, he was on the team.
Oh, whatever. But and then you got the first year coach. Yeah, the Panthers don't really impress me that much. And now I'm looking forward to see how the Raiders not bounce back. They won, but how they play against the Saints this Monday night in their new stadium, the Death Star.
Right.
I'll be really, if they can start 2-0 and beat the Saints, then you might be looking at something here.
Right.
But yeah, that's.
I was surprised too that the Bengals with what's that guy's name? The rookie quarterback.
Joe Burrow.
He basically won his first game. I mean, if not for a push-off call, which was a little,
and then a missed field goal that should have sent the game to overtime.
Yeah, but that push-off call in the end zone, I think, would have won them the game, right?
Yeah, it would have. Yeah.
I mean, he basically he got right on the doorstep of winning. I think they said that. Who's the last rookie quarterback to win?
No, David Carr.
David Carr.
Yeah, that was 18 years ago.
The last first overall draft pick quarterback to win his debut.
Okay. Yeah. My point is, Burrow virtually did that. I mean, you have a call that could go either way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He did, and I thought you saw some other things like, of course they may be looking for. Let me step back. The Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, another year of Phillip Rivers wouldn't have killed him. Now maybe he wanted to leave, but they look pitiful. I mean, the Bengals pretty much manhandled them. Okay, they look pitiful to me.
Yeah, look, it's okay to move on from Phillip Rivers if you've got like a concrete plan in place.
Which they didn't.
Why they drafted this guy from Oregon, but start him. I guess
exactly.
I mean, it's not like no disrespect to Tyrod Taylor, but he's not sitting behind like a future Hall of Fame quarterback he can learn a ton from. Tyrod Taylor's just a placeholder. Like, might as well just throw him into the fire and let him play. That's what the Bengals are doing. Now, I'm not a big component of the starting rookie quarterbacks, but in this scenario, like, I don't really know what they're trying to do there.
I read an article that said that the Colts couldn't even beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were trying to tank the season to get the Trevor Lawrence pick next year, the Clemson quarterback, which I don't know if that's true or not, but I got to feel like they don't think Gardner Minshew can lead them to a Super Bowl, but maybe they think he can. Who knows?
I think teams are good at faking like they believe in their quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree.
Every year there's teams that do that.
I think if they want him, the Jets are going to have the
first pick,
the Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, but the Jets aren't going to take him. The Jets, they've still got what?
But they fake believe in Josh and Sam.
I'm just saying. I see 1-15 at then for them.
That's possible.
2-14 maybe. They're pretty pitiful. And I talked about not believing in the Bills.
Right.
I mean, they play the Dolphins this week. They beat the Jets week 1. Let's see them play the Patriots, who looked good.
It did look good.
Right?
Yes, it did. Yes. That's going to be another debate. We'll see how it plays out. That Brady didn't look all that sharp in his first game, and Cam Newton looked like the Cam Newton of old, really. So I guess you guys don't remember it, but the old commercial. Is it Ella or is it Memorex? Well, is it Belichick or is it Brady? I mean, right now it's starting to lean towards Belichick a little bit, but then again, let's give Brady some credit. New team, no preseason to speak of, new system, getting used to your receivers in game situations. If Brady throws a pick six and another interception or 2 interceptions in a game in week 7 or 8, then we got a problem.
Well, so I would say too that no matter at the end of the season, no matter which way you'd lean on that debate, it's kind of too late. It's kind of too late to test it. He's 43 or whatever.
Right.
Now, if he would have left when he was 35 or 34, then you could adequately test that debate of who's better. But I mean, like, I guess unless he takes the Buccaneers deep in the playoffs and then the Patriots end up missing him, then it's obviously him, because if he can do that when he's 43, he can do it when he's younger. But my point is, if he doesn't perform well this year, well, is it because he doesn't have Belichick?
Right.
Or is it because he's 43 years old?
Well, that's a good point. That's a really good point. But I have to feel like if he performs really below his standards, I don't think it's that he's 43, because I don't think he would have done that if he was with the Patriots.
And if the Patriots perform well,
that's right. But he did have a bad year last year, Brady. He didn't have his normal year last year, so you could be right. Age could be starting to catch up with him a little bit. But anyway,
let's talk about your Giants. What did you see from them Monday night? I see a team that, like, this is the same problems as them. Their offense, they just can't get anything going. They can't do anything. Right? They seem stuck. I don't know.
No, I agree with that. I think I was pleasantly surprised. Their defense played very well. I think the free agent signing of Blake Martinez from Green Bay was an excellent signing. The guy made 12 tackles. He was all over the field. He's going to be the quarterback of that defense. Let's hope he doesn't get hurt. But I think he played great. Lorenzo Carter, the guy they drafted from Georgia a few years ago, played great. So I think the Giant defense is molding to where they want it to be. I think they've got a good quarterback. I'm not ready to say that he's the guy that's going to lead them to 2 Super Bowls like Eli Manning did, but he's got mobility. He can move around in the pocket. He's certainly not afraid to stand in the pocket and throw the ball. He did that very well the other night against a pretty ferocious Steeler defense. They've got Saquon Barkley, but they need another receiver. I think they need one more receiver, and their offensive line is pitiful. I mean, they've been trying to rebuild this offensive line since 2011, and they just can't seem to get it done. And unless you get some guys that can block, they're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, the thing with Daniel Jones, I think we're past the bust territory. He's not a bust. He's not a guy that, they missed that pick. My only question is he like an Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins type of guy who's a nice quarterback, but you're not really going to do anything with him ultimately.
Right.
Or is he like you said, like an Eli Manning type that's going to lead you to the Super Bowl and things like that? That's yet to be decided. I think.
Yes, it is. But I think I will say this. I may be wrong about what I'm about to say. I don't think the Giants are going to go 3-13 or 4-12. I think they're going to probably be 7-9 or 8-8 maybe.
What we saw week 1, that division is very winnable.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
You got. Early on, the Redskins looked pretty. The Washington football team looked pretty bad. They came back and beat the Eagles, and I don't think the Washington football team are that good, right? But they were good enough to beat the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles are very good. I think Carson Wentz is extremely overrated.
Yeah. Cowboys got beat.
The Cowboys got beat. They struggled to put points up in the second half pretty much at all.
Right.
And so the Giants lost as well, but they're right in the thick of things there.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's move. Nathan, did you have anything else you wanted to add NFL wise?
Let me think. The Rams uniforms are terrible.
Oh,
they are.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that.
Good point.
I want to know too. They were like all gray. They were gray. I think they weren't white. They were gray.
Yeah, they weren't.
I hope those are like the alternates. Do they have a white uniform, or do they just have a blue and a gray? I think they have a white also. They just didn't wear it.
Yeah.
I think those are their alternates.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Colin Coward said that the Rams practice jerseys looked really good.
Yeah. That's my point. Even if they are alternate, they're alternate just because they're gray, but the concept's still the same across the league.
They look horrible. They look like a high school football team.
And and if you could get any worse than the uniform, the logo, I think.
It's horrible.
I get how it's all supposed to be kind of like new digital age type of stuff, but it looks a little too minimalistic.
Look, it was very hard to screw this up, yet they did it. If you want to go away from the St. Louis Kurt Warner Rams, the dark gold and the dark blue, fine, okay? But either go back to your
white The white,
Deacon Jones, white and blue.
The white, which I would have liked, or
Right.
to stick with your yellow and blue with the dark helmets like they wore last year at home sometimes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And just make
Just one of those two.
and just making a way that fits that because
Right.
they didn't have a way for
Yeah,
that last year.
but to make something completely new and weird. It's just.
I also said, did you notice how I told Nathan this? I don't know if you heard it Sunday, but they look like the Chargers a little bit. I mean, it's almost like they're trying to make both teams look similar because they share that stadium.
They both kind of had those kind of like highlighter colors.
Yeah,
that were
yeah,
bright.
yeah.
Let me say this: as bad as the Rams look, the Chargers are great.
They look really
uniforms.
good.
The
They
yellow
look really
pants, the classic powder blues,
Yes.
and the helmets with the lightning bolt and the numbers under them. That was
like
great.
that.
Yeah, I do like Chargers.
The Washington football team, something was off about their helmets. I kept thinking.
Yeah.
I thought it was the numbers. I thought they didn't look good with numbers. Then I'm thinking, though, I think you brought up Josh. I think if they just put the stripes back in the middle of the helmet, it looks okay.
I mean, and they wore the white pants, which I think that uniform would look better with the yellow pants because they have the yellow numbers in the helmet.
It would, yeah, it would.
They have the yellow accents on the jerseys, and with and add a stripe, you're okay. Yeah.
Or I think if they added stripes and just put white numbers, that might look better.
And also, I don't know if we brought this up before, but I think at this point, just go ahead and stick with the Washington football team.
Oh, yeah.
Going forward.
There shouldn't be anything else.
It sounded originally like they're like, okay, we know we got to get rid of the Redskins. We don't really know what to call ourselves yet. For now, we're going to call ourselves the Washington football team. But
I like that.
I kind of like it's unique.
It has like an old
style.
gridiron type of feel to it, like the gridiron, back in the glory days of the NFL.
They didn't change their colors, so when you're watching it, you know, okay, this is
who they are.
Yeah.
the Redskins. You know, that's who they are. But and they can make some tweaks like we talked
Washington
about. But I like the
football
name.
I like that. The Washington football team.
Like you said, it's unique.
Yeah, maybe they'll keep it. Maybe you never
My
know.
final comment on the NFL. I know these aren't the type of comments you were looking for. My final comment on the NFL is that the Giants should always wear gray pants. So
I agree with that too.
I'm okay with the white.
The white pants. You like the white?
Yeah.
I kind of like the gray.
I don't
Nathan, I
hate it, but if they have the gray, wear it. I mean,
I agree.
They have it.
I agree. That's the real throwback. The gray
Yeah.
pants with the NY on the helmet. Yeah.
Continue.
All right, so let's move on.
Yeah.
Or unless you want to say something else about the
I'm
NFL.
ready.
All right, so now we want to talk about college football. College football, I guess, officially, in my mind, kicked off last Saturday because you had the ACC and the Big 12 playing, which was their first weekend. It looked great. Everything went off without a hitch. And the beauty of it is that it forced the Big Ten into changing their minds.
Yeah, the Big Ten looks ridiculous. Let's just face it.
I mean, they had egg all over their faces.
Yeah. And look, I understand what they were trying to do. It just didn't work. Like they said, "Oh, we're going to cancel. We're the Big Ten. We're a major player.
Right.
Everybody else will follow suit."
Right.
You know,
Pac-12 followed suit.
Pac-12 followed suit.
Or they did at the same time.
I think they actually followed it a little bit,
yeah.
and then everybody will realize, well, I guess we can't play college football. But no, the SEC said we're going to play. The ACC said we're going to play. The Big 12 kind of followed them and was like, I guess we'll play. And then the Big 10 sitting there like, and then like you said, they watched what happened week 1. They saw it go off without a hit, so we went in, you know. So they had a pretty quick vote to play. They're going to start late October. And they're going to, 8 games, and then they're going to be eligible for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which has its own whole set of problems we'll get into.
Are they going to be, or do they want to be?
I think they are.
No, that's why they wanted to start in October, because I think they have to get at least 8 games in. Wasn't that the rule or something? I don't know if it's a rule, but yeah, I mean, it's such a ridiculous look for them. I mean, let's take their side of it from a month ago. Oh, we can't play football. It's too dangerous. Okay, what changed? Tell me what changed in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Now they think it's not dangerous for them.
Now it's not. Now they're couching it in. We're going to have strict protocols.
They could have done that.
Of course, they could have done that before. Okay, because it's all about they know they made a mistake. Like Joseph said, they were saying, "Oh, these other conferences will follow suit," but they didn't. Okay, now the Pac-12 is a different animal. The Pac-12 is a bunch of tree-hugging liberals that are just sitting there cowering under their couches and afraid of everything that's going on. They're never going to play football. They may not even play this year at all. They're saying now, well, we're going to wait till November. Well, go ahead and wait till November, December. Yeah, but they're not going to play football.
In the Pac-12 too, at least for one of the states, with probably a few teams they have in the Pac-12, they have other problems with like the air quality now.
Exactly. Yeah, you got other problems there.
I heard the 49ers game could have been pushed back because of the air quality. They didn't, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a good story.
There's all types of other problems in California.
They've got their own set of problems in California, Washington, Oregon, all of them. Okay, and really nobody cares if they play football anyway.
I think they'll probably play.
Well, but they're not going to be eligible. Well, they're never going to make the playoffs.
You don't think they'll come out next week and go, we're starting late October also?
They might. They might.
Still a chance
it's possible.
for that, but
yeah.
I don't see it.
I don't see it happening.
Because before they had company in their misery.
They don't have the pressure. But see, they don't have the pressure to force them to do that. You see what I mean?
Remember, all you heard was the
Nebraska.
I guess the presidents voted.
Yeah.
But the athletic directors, the coaches, the parents of the players are protesting. We want to play. We want to play.
I never heard much of that from the Pac-12.
And then what they saw week one pushed them over the edge. Well,
Right.
I guess we can play. But you never really heard from that in the
That's a good
Pac-12.
point.
That's right.
I still feel like now, not only are they missing out, but they're missing out alone.
Here-
They had the Big 12. They had the Big 10 to miss out with before.
Right.
Here's the deal, which you brought this up, Nathan, which is, okay, they came out with the preseason top 25 and included all these teams,
Right.
Pac-12, Big 10. I guess after week one, they just took those teams out.
Correct.
And now they're going to vote them back in when they start playing.
It's going to be hard to do.
I guess my question is, all right, say an Ohio State, or maybe they go 8-0.
Right.
Well, then you've got SEC teams that go, how many? They're playing 10 or
They're playing 10.
Oh, they're going 9-1.
Right.
Or maybe you've got a 10-0 team versus an 8-0 team. Well, one team where the SEC teams played more games, you're going to have a big mess about who gets into the playoffs and all this stuff.
And not even at the end of the year. Let's say after week one of the Big 10, the SEC would have probably only played, 2 games, I guess?
3.
Maybe 3. Yeah,
Let's say 3.
Yeah.
I don't know I guess I could pull up the
3 or 4,
rankings, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Let's say, who's a team that you think might be in the top 5? LSU, I don't know.
Alabama probably say.
Okay.
Well,
Let me pull it up actually. 'Cause I'm trying to make a.
Well, while you're pulling it up, I'll carry the discussion a little bit further. Is I see your point. Is like, let's say the SEC. Let's say they've played 1, 2, 3. Actually, they will have played 4 games before the Big Ten starts. So let's say you've got 2 SEC teams that are 4-0, right? And all of a sudden, then the Big Ten plays their first week. Are you going to put Ohio State at number 2?
That was my point. I was just trying to use specific examples.
Yeah,
exactly. Let's say Ohio State would have started the season at number 2.
Different story.
No, but I'm saying, let's say going into the year they had him ranked at number 2. I don't know if they did. Well, then they win their first game. Well, you can't go ahead and you can't just jump them back to their original spot because now teams have moved up that are 3-0.
Right.
So how do you fit it? Where do you determine to fit them in at? Even if you want to fit them at number 8 or 9, are you going to have them leapfrog teams like Texas or Texas A&M just because they were originally above them before the season started?
I don't know. Well, here's what you. This is another thing. Remember, we haven't heard a word out of any college football playoff committee members, and I don't even know if they're all set yet. But my point is, I bet you what they're going to do, because remember, we're only going to have 4 conferences that are eligible for the playoff, that are eligible, right? Because the Pac-12 is not going to be eligible either way. I bet you they're going to come out and say, we're going to just take the 4 conference champions. See, so then your rankings don't matter, do they? In other words, if they say you got 4 spots, right? Take the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 10.
That solves it in their mind.
It's not
going to solve the controversy.
It's not going to solve the controversy, but in a way it is, because really, if you win your conference, you should be in anyway.
Okay, then you have Ohio State say winning the conference at 8-0, and then you have maybe LSU losing to Alabama, but
because they're going to have a conference championship,
right? But that's their only loss.
Yeah.
But they played 10 games.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
And they could do what you said without announcing it. They could get together in a room and these are our picks, and this happens to be the conference championship.
They could, yeah. I haven't heard yet if the Big Ten's going to have a conference championship game. Have you?
I haven't heard.
Yeah, I know they're going to play 8 games, but I'm not sure if they're going to actually have a conference championship, which the ACC... See, the Southeastern Conference is the only one that's going to do that. The ACC has said they're just going to take... They're going to have one, but they're just going to take the top 2 teams. So they're not going to have 2 divisions like these.
But is Notre Dame eligible for that this
year? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is eligible for the conference championship this year, yes.
That hurts them.
Not really.
Well,
it kind of helps
They have to play another game they could lose.
Yeah, they could, but it's another game that everybody says they don't have to play when they're undefeated, so that's why they get an advantage.
Notre Dame, I feel like, just if you can play less games, it's probably better because you're on the verge of losing every game.
Probably, you're right, but it's only a 1-year deal, so it's not a big deal. So.
Well, like you said, though, if they do secretly decide or publicly decide to take the conference championships, Notre Dame happens to win the ACC, then you can't argue them.
You can't argue. That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah,
but they're number 7 right now. I think I saw there.
They are. Yeah,
another thing that I want to make a point of, which I saw this in the initially in the Chiefs Texans opener and Notre Dame and some of the other games. Okay. These teams or colleges that are letting fans in, okay? What are you trying to accomplish? Like, let's take Notre Dame for example. They had like the quote unquote student section,
Right.
or just in general the fans.
It was like alumni, student
Yeah,
section.
and I think they claimed was 20% capacity or something.
Supposedly.
Well, yeah, granted it wasn't a packed house, but there were quite a few fans there, in close quarters.
Right.
Like I said, if COVID-19 was there to be had, it was being had. Okay,
Right,
you weren't preventing the spread by having that many fans there. Now, if you want to close it off completely and say no fans, fine. You actually are preventing it because there's nobody there to get it.
Correct.
But you might as well just let everybody in.
Well,
Say, hey, use your own discretion. If we're selling our tickets, if you'd like to come. If not, don't come. They say it's understood that we're not held responsible, whatever. But let there be a packed house if you want to come, because I don't think you're preventing a ton when you have that many people together. You know what I mean? It looked like, I don't know.
Well, I guess I have a couple things. I guess on your point, if you say, which I don't disagree with, but if you say if there's COVID-19 to be had there, people are going to get it with what they currently have.
Right.
But maybe they're thinking if that's the case, and they have a
less
packed,
people will get it?
Less people. If they have a packed house, well, more people would probably get it then, right? So maybe they're thinking, well, people are going to get it either way,
Well, then
unless we go no fans. So then go no
Then
fans.
go no fans. Yeah, I think if you're in your mind, well, it'll probably be had less people should get it, and just don't have
all
any
of it.
fans. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like,
I understand
And
that.
my second thing is, I never thought about this. Do you think they're making these students, or do you think they're making people who go to NFL or college games sign something that says that they realize they're going into an environment in which they could catch it or something? Or
I haven't heard that yet.
because I could see maybe a fan coming away and
Well-
kidding it and saying, I've already heard some Chiefs
It happened in
fans.
Kansas City, yeah.
I can see them maybe trying to sue or something.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs thing I heard was a fan that went to the Chiefs Texans game was tested and was found positive, but because of when he was tested and the gestation period of the test, they said that he could not have been positive when he was at the game. Okay, but they still, through their seating thing, found out where he was and was able to do contact tracing and tell the people that were there about it, and they could quarantine.
No, I was just curious. I mean, obviously, it's on if they allow some fans and you're a fan who wants to go. It's on you. It's your decision.
Right.
I'm just curious. I never thought about if
Probably
making
the
them,
tickets might have something.
Yeah,
on
if it says something like, "Listen, you're going to a place that could be."
That could be it. Yeah.
I'm sure they're making them wear masks too, right? In the stadium.
Yeah. Well, we saw mostly masks.
I think so. I doubt they'd let them come in without masks.
Well, again, Joseph's point is well taken. I mean, either don't have anybody in the stands at all, or have the stands there filled up. Because this is, I mean, I think I made this comment off the air, but if you're dealing with a disease like Ebola, okay, something that could be a death sentence, then we're talking about something that really needs to be handled in a certain way. But with this one, we know that it's very dangerous for elderly people, and very dangerous for elderly people or other people with 2 or 3 existing conditions. Therefore, those are the people that should be protected, okay? The rest of the people either wear a mask and go about their business. Because Joseph's right. If you have 15,000 people in the stands, it's very possible that one of them could contract the virus, right? I mean, so...
You got people going to the bathroom,
And then they could take it... And then they could take it to those people with conditions that maybe chose not to come.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So what are we really preventing there?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
I agree. I think, they should... Right, they should either say no fans
Nobody at all,
or if they're okay with some people... I don't know how to put it. You know what I'm saying.
I know exactly.
Just because you're allowing full capacity doesn't mean you have to go.
Exactly.
If you have a condition and you're older, you don't feel comfortable, don't go.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Another ridiculous thing I saw, okay? University of Georgia has banned tailgating for home games, but fans will be allowed to gather near their vehicle with family and friends in the parking lot.
That's the definition of tailgating.
That is tailgating. Like, well, that's totally absurd. These schools are acting like they're doing some, big service preventing this thing, but then there's like, well, but go ahead and do it anyway.
Well, let me say this, okay? Without trying to get political, which I'm not. All right. These schools want to be looked upon as that they're following the protocols that everyone else is following. So they're trying to be that way.
But why not then just say don't tailgate, period? Why say don't tailgate, but come with your cars and watch TV and eat with your
It
friends?
just makes you
With
look
your
ridiculous.
family, it said.
It said, family or close friends.
Close
but
friends, yeah.
Okay, then say don't tailgate outside of your family. Just say that. It just sounds funny to say don't tailgate, and then give the definition for tailgate.
Yeah, it
Well,
just
that's
makes
true.
you look ridiculous. That's all. Yeah.
They should have just put the parameters. Do not,
Yeah.
no barbecues, no, you know how it is at a tailgate, right?
Yeah,
Somebody will
right.
bring a camper and a bunch of people will be there. So I guess that's what they're trying to prevent. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't sound
The way
very-
they said it, no tailgating, but you can do
yeah,
this.
that you can congregate around your vehicle with your family and friends. You know,
Well, I think they just said family. But yeah,
Whatever.
just say no tailgating outside of your family unit.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, yeah.
So
But-
yeah, I mean, it's kind
A question I had, I don't know if maybe it's an obvious thing, but okay, the Big Ten now is going to play. You all thought that they probably weren't practicing during this downtime? The time they said they weren't playing to the time they decided to play?
Yeah, I don't think
what
they
was
were-
going on?
they weren't having actual football practices. I don't
Yeah,
think.
But they were
I
on
don't-
campus, everybody.
I think so.
yeah, I didn't read anything about what exactly was going on. I just said I think that you need about a month or so because I don't think they were practicing every day like as to get ready for a game or
Right.
like they would be. You know,
Right.
they're obviously I'm sure they were working out. I'm sure they were maybe doing some shorts and t-shirts or activities. I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, I think that's about right. I think they weren't having once they voted to cancel the season. I think actual football practices stopped, but they were probably still lifting weights.
They
and
didn't just like
They
disband.
didn't like disband. They were still in school. So now they have a month to get ready with actual practices before the start of the season. Yeah, it would be so. Yeah, but you know, it's just funny how it all played itself out and
I think I remember too. Shortly after they made the announcement they weren't going to play, and then all those parents, traveled to the headquarters to protest. I thought I heard some statement from one of the people in the Big Ten say that they made the decision they will not revote on. It's final. I thought I heard them say that.
I think they did say that, yeah. But again, it's money, right? I mean, they realized that one, they look bad. Two, they didn't want the SEC and ACC to be able to say, "See, we told you so," and have their old parents and say, "So, hey, you took a season away from us." So they realized that we better do this, okay? And they went ahead and did it.
If last Saturday if football would have started last Saturday, it would have been like a complete debacle, like a mess. They probably wouldn't have done. But they saw that it went off pretty much without a hitch.
And again, just to show you that the media,
the excitement was still there. But
the sports media was trying all along before this thing started to throw cold water on it, okay? They were saying all along in late August, oh, the SEC shouldn't play. The ACC shouldn't play. You know what I saw last week, first week of the ACC season? The ESPN put something out that said, the ACC has said that they have to have 8 teams to be able to continue a season. Why would you put something like that out? In other words, what they were implying was that, if some team gets ravaged by cases and can't play a game, in other words, they were looking at the negative of it. That if 3 or 4 teams had to cancel their season, why even say that? Okay, first of all, they're not going to cancel a season now. They've started it, so they may have to forfeit a game or postpone a game or move it or something. But again, it's the negative when it really should be positive. I mean, how did we all feel when we were watching football Sunday? Didn't we feel normal
Great,
finally?
yeah.
I mean, we felt great because it was back to some sense of normalcy. And that's what football is bringing everybody, is that sense of normalcy again, whether you have to watch it from your living room, from your car, whatever.
there's no fans at stand, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's still football. That's exactly right. And that's what's the good part about it. So
one last thing. We talked about this a little bit, and you mentioned no fans. The fake crowd noise? What do you think about that? I kind of like it. I don't mind it.
I don't mind it. It does make it feel. It makes you feel more like a normal Sunday of football or Saturday because,
Well, obviously it's less weird when they're showing the field of play and you can't see the stands.
yes.
But
Yes.
But I said I would like to hear what it sounded
Without
like.
fans?
And you kind of got that on Monday Night Football with the Giants. I think either for the first half or for a while they either didn't have the sound on or they had it turned down really low because you could kind of hear the echoes and hear the sidelines, and I kind of like that too.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing either. Yeah.
It does feel more like you're watching a scrimmage, I guess, which they don't want that. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's
I don't think the fan noise is a must, but it does make it feel more like a
like you said, Chris, we like NFL more than college, and Sunday's a big event. It felt like a normal Sunday. It was great.
It did. Yeah, it was great.
College felt like a normal college.
It did feel like a normal. I mean, I sat there, we watched Notre Dame, and then,
Clemson came out at 9.
Yeah,
I've mentioned this point too, that I've always liked how they've done it. I had no problems in the past with the preseason and all this, but it made it more exciting this year because this was the first time you were seeing the teams out there any football, and it was the real deal. Right. It was week 1. You know what I mean? You didn't have like
this watered down Hall of Fame game.
Yeah. So I did like that aspect, I guess.
And I think if this season goes well, and I don't mean from a COVID-19 standpoint, I mean from an injury standpoint and from a production standpoint, I think you may have watched your last preseason game.
It's possible.
You mean they're not going to broadcast them?
No, I don't think they're going to have them because remember the players wanted to cut it down to 2, but I think now they're going to start to say, "Hey, we don't really need them." Yeah. You know, I think they do. I think 1 or 2 is good.
2 in 18 games is probably right
for rookies. You know, rookie quarterbacks and stuff. But yeah, you're never going to see 4 again.
Maybe what you see is 1 or 2, but the stars virtually having no playing time.
Yeah.
Like just all just for the purpose of evaluating talent.
Right. You know? I don't know if you guys. If I told you, but back when I was your age, there was 6 preseason games.
Yeah, they played half a season.
They played basically, of course.
How many games they played?
Well, 14? Part of that was 14, but even in 1978, when they went to 14 or 16 games, they still played. I think they still played 6 preseason games. Yeah, but anyway, but remember the reasoning for that was that a lot of players had other jobs and they were getting it right. They had the preseason got them in shape. Now you don't need that. You know?
Well, now I guess they work out from like March on, right? They have like little mini camps.
Right, they're ready to go, you know. But before, if a guy was selling insurance, he might have put on 20 pounds and didn't lift any weights or didn't do anything. Now he had to get in shape, you know. So it was a different era. But 6 preseason games was kind of rough because
that's another thing. You're going to have players now saying, "Why do we need to come to OTAs every other weekend? We didn't do it this year. Everything was fine." You know, that's going to be a bargaining thing, I think.
It will. It'll be, and maybe the NFL. We'll use that to say, okay, we'll give you that because we want.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
So we'll see.
We enjoyed week 1 of both college and pro, and look forward to talking more about it as it happens here on the Press Box podcast. And anything else before we sign off?
That's it.
All right, so that's another episode for you guys. As always, we encourage you to get involved on Twitter at PressBoxPod. You know, what did you think of week 1 of both pro and college? And we'll look forward to interacting with you on there as well. So. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.